Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and today we've got Munchkin. She's back because as the world burns down around us, Munchkin can bring a little light in everybody's eyes, and we got some new artwork done of Munchkin in her tactical form. She's out of here. She's sick of it. All right, now, what are we going to be doing today? Well, if you haven't seen the information that just came out today, if you didn't have North Korea in joining the war in Russia on your 2024 bingo boards, you lost, right? Who would have thought? Okay, so so for those of you who didn't know, the United States has officially come out and said that North Korea has entered the war in direct military fashion, and that is that they have troops actually in Russia that are going to, if they're not already, be fighting the war in Ukraine, not just supplying arms, ammunition, things like that. So, pretty insane. Okay, the fact that I thought with sort of the election coming up and that we would have a died down news cycle in foreign conflict, with sort of things being a little bit out of simmer right now, and then this happens. Now, what we need to talk about, because I was in First Special Forces Group, those of you, we all have sort of short-term memory and amnesia now from the way the news cycle works, but we actually almost went to war with North Korea 5 years ago. I think 2019 it was. Remember when all that was happening and the Trump calling Kim Jong-un Rocket Man on Twitter and things like that? We literally almost went to war with him. Most of you guys didn't know that. Now, First Special Forces Group, since we are the kind of the special operations unit that primarily controls Asia, we were tasked with basically being the planners for the initial invasion into North Korea. Okay, so without giving away classified information from that, I'm going to tell you guys about that and how insane that actually would look, because that is potential reality, and that we already have American politicians calling for America to engage in direct military conflict with North Korea. We'll talk about that too. Okay. Now, first, let's roll the clip that Lloyd Austin's actually talking about. This is from the U.S. government itself on what's happening. Let's check it out.
They're doing left to be seen. These are things that we need to sort out. We'll have more for you on that later. But yeah, as we continue to look at this, there is evidence that there are DPRK troops, in Russia. If they're co-belligerents, their intention is to participate in this war on Russia's behalf. That is a very, very serious issue. There is a strengthened relationship, for lack of a better term, between Russia and DPRK. You've seen DPRK provide arms and munitions to Russia, and this is a next step. But what it means in terms of where Putin is, you've heard me talk about the significant casualties that he has experienced over the last 2.5 years. This is an indication that he may be even in more trouble than most people realize. But again, he went tin cupping early on to get additional weapons and materials from DPRK and then from Iran, and now he's making a move to get more people, if that is the case. If these troops are designed to be a part of the fight in Ukraine.
So, like you see there, North Korea has gone from being sort of a proxy supplier to an active participant in direct military conflict. I think it's kind of rich from the United States to denounce North Korea. Like, how could they, when we've literally supplied over $100 billion worth of military equipment and HIMARS rockets to literally attack and kill Russians with? So, little silly on our part to say that, but they're an adversary, so we have to say it. So, the issue here is that, like I said in a previous video, I'm going to roll a clip from it, the war was never going to, as the longer it drags out, it was never going to stay contained. Okay, regional conflict starts to spread out. and that's just the way it is. And so in this video, where I talked about how I foresaw the most likely way, the sort of thing that causes World War III to break out into massive regional conflict where other actors get involved, is this. So let's check the clip out and talk about it. What singular events do I think are the most likely to cause this? Okay, like I just mentioned, Ukraine trying to attack Moscow, I think, is the most guaranteed way for this to spiral out of control, and I think we're dangerously close to seeing that within the next year, if not months. And then again, if that happens, you have China, Iran, North Korea. They are going to enter the conflict. All right, so yeah. If at the time I filmed that, Russia or Ukraine had just sort of entered Russian territory about a month and a half ago, and as we saw over the next month, actually forced their way deeper into territory and actually did attack Moscow with drone strikes. And lo and behold, a few weeks later, what happens? North Korea joins the war on behalf of Russia. Okay, I said Iran, China, North Korea get involved. Okay, Iran obviously is preoccupied with their conflict with Israel, and China hasn't yet, but North Korea has. So, and that's what I expected to see. Okay, I was hoping that I would be wrong about some of this stuff, but it is what it is. All right. Now, the other thing is, this is not going to stop drawing people in either. And on the allied side, you could say there's already countries sort of denouncing this, threatening to jump in. The main one, and the one we should be most concerned with, obviously, who North Korea is actually still technically at war with, South Korea. So South Korea came out and said this.
정부는 북한군의 즉각적인 철수를 촉구하며 현재와 같은 북한과 러시아의 군사적 야합이 지속될 경우 이를 좌시하지 않고 국제사회와 함께 단호하게 대처해 나가기로 했습니다. 정부는 북한의 전투병력 파병에 따른 러북 군사협력의 진전 추이에 따라 단계적인 대응 조치를 실행해 나갈 것입니다.
Yeah, not great when South Korea is threatening North Korea to get involved into the conflict as well, which to me, I'm really confused about why South Korea is threatening to get in direct military conflict with North Korea over Ukraine. Like, Ukraine's not a NATO nation. Why is South Korea gonna get involved in the war over Ukraine? I don't understand. Oh, that's right, because America told South Korea that you're going to. Okay, so, and again, it's just these people, like, you know, I'm obviously highly critical of the military-industrial complex. I think we all know at this point this is the way it is. They want war. They profit off of it. And you can see that, and obviously our politicians, they make shit tons of money off of it too by knowing when to invest into the stock market, typically off of intelligence they receive by people, or and coincidentally, people like, oh, I don't know, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Mike Turner, immediately coming out and saying this. Within 6 hours of this being released, he's calling for the United States to engage in direct military conflict with North Korea over them getting involved in Ukraine. Why? Why should America go to war with North Korea over Ukraine? Someone explain it to me in the comment section, because for 2 years, I haven't been able to figure it out. But my point is, and we're going to get into what that war would look like here in a second, with all due respect to the position, what a fucking idiot to say something like that. Like, oh my God, right? But again, this is the type of guy who's sitting on the House Intelligence Committee. And what do you think? You know, I'm not saying they do, but what do you think they're investing their stocks in? Oh, we know. We already talked about it, because all the military-industrial complex stocks are going straight vertical over the last 3 months. So, yeah, let's, you know, and again, it's like they want war. Like, war. They want it, right? They need it. They make that money, right? Now, they support it to no end, but of course, they're not going to send their sons and daughters to fight it. They'll send yours, right? Even though the Democrats have really become the party of warmongering, right? We saw Zelensky coming and signing artillery shells with Shapiro in Pennsylvania. Of course, we got all the Rhino Republicans still in office that can't stop mongering for war as well. So, unfortunately, we're at where we're at. Now, We got to talk about, again, so you guys understand like how insane this is for us to want to go to war with North Korea. What that war would actually look like. All right, so let me walk you through it. Okay. First, we have to understand geographically how difficult it would be to invade, because that's what we'd have to do. We'd have to invade the country, right, to go to war with them. How difficult it would be to actually invade North Korea. So if we look at North Korea, okay, it's got, of course, South Korea to the south with the DMZ there. All right, and then it's got on the east and west, obviously bordered by sea or ocean, and then to the north, China. What's the problem with that? Well, obviously the north is not going to happen because we're not invading from the Chinese side. Excuse me. And the south is a huge issue because the DMZ is one of the most heavily fortified areas on the entire planet. Okay, for the entire place being interlaced with mines, just the defensive fighting positions, artillery, all just pointed at each other. All right, so just thinking you can just sort of deploy your troops to South Korea and just walk across the DMZ, it ain't gonna go down like that. All right, so that leaves open what? Trying to invade by sea. Okay, the biggest problem with invading by sea is North Korea has the entire coastline lined with sea mines. All right, so you cannot just D-Day style roll your ships up and amphibious assault North Korea either. Okay, so what our job in first group was to figure out how to infiltrate into North Korea for special operations, how we would sort of get into the country ahead of time to sort of set the battle conditions for the larger conventional army to move in after that. All right, now the ways that we would have to do that would be either by military freefall. Okay, so where you could offset a plane, 30, 40 miles off the DMZ, get it up to 24, 25,000 feet, throw your dudes out, hey-ho in, right? And you can come in potentially undetected. The problem with that, right, you can't get that many troops in, okay? So it's a good way to get U.S. Special Forces troops behind to sort of, again, prep the battlefield, but not a good way that you can't actually, not sort of Normandy style mass exfil a bunch of paratroopers out. That's not going to happen. All your planes will get shot down. And then two, the other way is by combat dive. So coming in from the ocean side of things and literally swimming in through combat dive operations through all of those sea mines. Not great. All right. The biggest thing too, and this is what people don't think about when they talk about a conflict with North Korea, and that is what we projected in the first 12 to 24 hours of the conflict kicking off. Okay, you would probably see about 20 million people die. Okay, so understand that Seoul and Pyongyang, geographically, right, you can actually hit urban centers from either side with simple artillery, and that's not even nuclear weapons. Just from straight conventional artillery style attacks, you could kill probably 20 million people, civilians, soldiers, across both sides of South and North Korea. So that's why when we talk about escalating to direct conflict with North Korea, you think about the total amount of lives lost will be insane. Okay, so how about our politicians stop saying that? Okay. Now, also with that, the battle plan for as it was, just for the Special Forces side of things, was initially for 1st Special Forces Group, again, being in charge of Asia, to infiltrate first. Pretty much the entire group would work on being the first boots on the ground through infiltration methods. We were projecting 90+% casualties, so essentially the entire 1st Special Forces Group would be killed and wiped out, would then be backfilled by 7th Special Forces Group, which would expect about 80% casualty rate, so about 80%, almost all of 7th Group would be wiped out completely, and then backfilled by, I believe it was 10th Group as the 3rd group in, after you lost half the Special Forces regiment on trying to invade the country. Okay, so, and that's before you even try to get the conventional units across the DMZ. You're looking at, the amount of lives lost on both sides. Again, you're in the 20, 30, 40 million people are going to die in that conflict. So, no, we should not be beating our drums in the war mongering political party style things, congressmen and things like that. Like, you got to stop. This is not Iraq where we're going to be able to go in and just steamroll the country and, you know, basically try to deal with nation building after that. It's not going to be that way. Also, people seem to think too, well, you could run a insurgency with special forces, or, you know, have us go in and do unconventional warfare because the North Korean people are ready to revolt and fight against their government. Okay, North Korea is not Iran, right? Like, they're not. Their populace is not open to information. They have no internet. They're completely blacked out from the rest of the world. They have been brainwashed and conditioned through propaganda for like 3 generations of people now to think that America is the big bad evil of the world and is going to invade their country and kill everyone. That's what they've been told from the time they were 2 years old, that America is going to do that. Now, if America literally shows up to invade and does that, right, that will just proof of concept the brainwashing, and they're going to fight to the death to try to protect their country. You think it's insane, but that's the reality of how that's going to be, all right? There will be no winning hearts and minds for the United States on that infiltration, okay? So not a thing. So again, this is highly, highly concerning, seeing that, you know, Russia is obviously, and reports are upwards of, Russia's taken upwards of 600,000 casualties or lost 600,000 soldiers. Again, reporting like that is, you really can't believe any of it because the reporting comes from the other side. Okay, so that comes from Ukrainian reports. Russia's not giving that information to the United States. So it's probably highly inflated. But, you know, maybe half that or 1/3 of that maybe is more realistic, but that's still a ton of soldiers lost. Now, they still have a huge reserve of fighting force, but the fact that other allied countries are getting involved is not great, okay, for the way this is going to expand regionally. Not only that, but Russia just, I don't know if you guys saw, just signed a new treaty and agreement with Iran to basically protect each other as well. So, yeah, this could start to expand and bloat, and God forbid we end up in World War III, okay? Yeah, I don't really see the good news in this. To me, like, North Korea sending troops to fight in Russia, who cares? You know, again, we've supplied hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. It is what it is. They're allied. Does America need to get involved and go to war with North Korea over Ukraine? No. You're never going to be able to convince me that for a second. It's not going to happen. But the politicians are going to try to convince you of that. So it'd be interesting to see. Again, I thought all this was going to pretty much kick off right after the election, depending on who won. But it looks like things, they move too fast for us to get away with something like that. So, yeah, guys, I'm sure this one is going to be one that continues to spiral on the current event side of things. But I guess we'll see what happens. So, hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll keep an eye on this one as well. All right, guys. Take care.